Making beats with G7, making beats with G7, G7, making beats with G7, G7 the beat maker.
Hey, what's going on, people? You're watching Making Beats with G7, and today I recorded the theme music to Making Beats with G7. Would you like to listen to it? Okay.
Making beats with G7, making beats with G7, G7, making beats with G7, G7 the beat maker.
Alright, those are just the vocals to the theme music. Now, what I'm going to do today in this particular Making the Beat tutorial of G7 the beat maker, I'm going to add some music. First, what I like to do is record it. Now, this particular mic setup is something that I've made up. And it's pretty much fun to do and easy to work with. Other than that, let's save what we have here. And by the way, I'm using Cool Edit Pro 2. Always make sure that when you're saving your vocals, that you know where your vocals are saved at. Because if you don't, then you won't be able to find your vocals. And make sure you name it something that you can remember, so you'll be able to find it as well. Theme music, making beats with G7. Alright, as soon as you save your information, whoa, what was that? That's weird. That was really weird. As soon as you finish saving your information, make sure that you're able to bring it up in your step sequencer. Me personally, I use the step sequencer in Fruity Loops of FL Studio 9. I love using Fruity Loops 4 because it's my favorite software for step sequencing. And that's mainly what I have for you today. It's just taking these vocals and making it the theme music. And then after that, after this video, I will show you how I make beats, instead of just showing you the intro to this particular episode or group of episodes. Okay, we have this.
Making beats with G7, making beats with G7, G7, making beats with G7.
Now, I want to loop it, but I'm too lazy to loop it. I'm not going to loop it. So, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add a beat to it, or make a beat with it. That's what I'll probably end up doing, making a beat with it. And making beats with G7, G7, making beats with G7, G7 beat maker. Alright, we have FL Studio up, and what we're going to do, we're going to make a beat with it. Now, the first thing we've done was save it, and the second thing we have to do is find it, so we can be able to use it. So,
making beats with G7, making beats with G7, G7, making beats with G7.
Now there's a way.
G7 the beat maker.
There's a lot of different ways to use it. What I can do, I can slice it even further, or I can use a slicer, or I can use Slice X, or I can use a granulizer, or I can use the granulizer, or I can use a Wavetraveller, or I can use a sampler. Or, no, there's no more overs. Okay, I'm gonna use the slicer because it's easy to use. Now the slicer has sliced everything up. I'm gonna use the third folder and choose dull auto slicing. And it still didn't do right. So I'm gonna go to the big piece and right click on the particular screen for it and remove slice. Remove slice again.
Making beats with G7.
Now it comes on point. Now I'm gonna do the same for the other parts, so I can have my cue points.
Making beats with G7, G7.
Okay, it stops at G7, so I'm gonna put a split slice at G7.
G7, G7, making beats with G7, making beats with G7,
it doesn't cut off on the right time, so I'm gonna bring it out some when I remove the slice, and I'm gonna split slice again. I said slice. I'm gonna split the slice again.
Making beats with G7.
Okay.
Making beats with G7.
Once you know what you're doing, you'll be able to fix everything else. So I don't really have to explain everything else because I move pretty quick when I'm making my music. Once you all are advanced, or the people that watch me are advanced enough to work with G7, then I will show you without having to tell you. Alright, since we have all of our slices together, since we know this part, we're going to set everything to a mixer track. Okay, it's in the mixer track. I usually put my mix with a compressor. I said compressor, but a compression with a complete mix compressor. But I have mine already preset, so I'm gonna bring my preset out. My preset is vocal hooks, which has a free filter I made up, parametric EQing I made up, reverb I randomized, recreated, and made up, the same compressor, and a chorus that I made up that I like to use in my vocals. Alright, I'm gonna put the normal back on so it can normally fit, but other than that, I'm gonna have to recut it because I'm not satisfied with it.
Making beats with G7.
I'm gonna tap it out to see how much. Making beats with G7. Okay, it's 73. Alright. Now, what I just did was tap the BPM out so I can go back and use it the right way. Making beats with G7. Making beats with G7. G7. It's kind of sidetrack. I'm not putting the beats on first, so.
Making beats with G7.
This may be the beat.
Beats with G7.
Okay, then beats with G7.
Beats with G7. G7. Making beats with G7.
Okay, beats.
Beats with G7.
Now the beat is when the kick drum starts from your loop point. Okay. I hate having to explain myself sometimes, but I have to do it on my first one if I'm making the theme music for my videos, you know. Alright, let's get this done. Alright, let's place every cue point in.
Beats with G7. Beats with G7. Making beats with G7. Beats with G7. Beats.
Now I already know where everything goes, so you know I know these cue points, so they're just extra cue points for you.
Beats with G7. Beats with G7. Making beats with G7. Beats with G7. Making beats with G7. Making beats with G7. Making beats with G7.
I gotta bring the BPMs up some a little bit. I hate explaining myself. Godly.
Beats with G7. Making beats with G7. Beats with G7. Making beats with G7. G7. Beats with G7. Making beats with G7. G7. Making beats with G7. Making beats with G7. G7. Making beats with G7. G7 the beat maker. G7.
Alright. I hate explaining myself. Golly, I have to explain every single thing. I'll tell you what. From now on, from this point on, just ask me what I did. So I won't have to explain. No, I can't do that. That's really mean. How am I going to do this video? Golly, I'm G7 the beat maker. Alright, let me finish making this beat without telling you how it works. Alright, since I have all the cue points, I'm going to slide it on over to the second track, right? So when I have the beat in, it can come in on point. For example,
making beats with G7. Making beats with G7. G7. Making beats with G7. G7 the beat maker.
Alright, that's the cue point. Now the cue point in the playlist isn't going to start at on point. So I'm going to have to come in on the second track at this point. So if it makes any sense to you, it'll make sense to you as soon as you hear it. So this is what I'm going to do now. Let me add some kick drums and some snares and some drums and some snares, or let me choose my favorite VSTI I already have it planned out over here. It's called DCO. Oh, let's use De La Mancha's entropy and see if this works. It's _1_0. Now let's pick a random one. Friendly fire. Dun 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 dun. I assigned it to a new track so I can turn it down some because it may be too loud. Dun 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 dun. Alright, and that's the beat. Now, well, that's the melody for the beat. Now, what I'm going to do, since I have everything I need, I'm going to add the bass to it. The bass. The boo. Boo. I'm going to add the blues to it. And I like to bring mine all the way up. The same way you probably saw in that Dr. Dre instrumental tutorial made by somebody that wasn't Dr. Dre. I don't know how Dr. Dre works in the studio. I just know how his music sounds. And that's how I made this bass, based on that particular tutorial I saw on YouTube. Alright, I'm going to mimic everything by copying and pasting it back on and lowering everything down because the bass is too loud as it is. I don't know how to make beats, to be honest with you. I'm really bad at music. I said that wrong. I'm really bad at music, but I know how to make beats. I still said it wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. Alright, I'm going to select some drum kits. I like the Yamaha RX21, so that's what I'm going to use. The kick drum, the clap, the closed hat, and the snare. I'm really random at this kick drum thing, so I'm just going to place the hip hop preset I made. I made my own preset, so that's what I'm going to use. And I'll place everything where it usually goes. And I have like a hi-hat preset that I made. I copied it from mgriffintv. Links in the description. I don't know if he'll make another video or not, but whenever he wants to work, we can work together. I'm still here for him. Just like Kevin too. I'm still here for you, Kevin. Alright, let's finish this video. Alright, and that's the end of the beat. After that, we just mix everything together. Let me assign the channel for the snare drum, the hi-hat, the clap, the kick drum. I'm not used to saying bass drum. That makes me sound too professional. Just the bass drum. It's not a kick drum, it's a bass drum. Ooh, it's a bass drum, kick drum, bass drum. Alright. Let's see how everything sounds with the vocals.
Making beats with G7, making beats with G7, G7, making beats with G7, G7.
Alright, now, it went the right way, but the reverb, it needs to have a tail on the reverb. It needs to have a tail on it. So I'm going to place, and then on top of that, the reverb is too low. It needs to be all the way up if it's theme music. This is theme music. So I'm gonna turn everything up and make it lower than what it's supposed to be, so you'll be able to hear what I have to say. And, oh crap! I ate some kettle corn. Ugh, I watched too much Courtney Pants. Golly. All right. Let me bring the G7 the Beatmaker up some because it isn't up high enough. And let's see what it sounds like.
Making beats with G7, making beats with G7, G7, making beats with G7, G7 the Beatmaker.
Alright, let's do this over.
Making beats with G7, making beats with G7, G7, making beats with G7, G7 the Beatmaker. Making beats with G7, making beats with G7, G7. Making beats with G7, G7 the Beatmaker. Making beats with G7, making beats with G7, G7. Making beats with G7, G7 the Beatmaker.
Alright, that part is too loud at the end. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back into the beat and turn it down some.
G7 the Beatmaker.
Alright, that sounds pretty good for theme music. Next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna save it. Something I should have been doing every time I did something to the beat, if that makes any sense to you. Alright.
Use your common sense, Gary. Use your common sense, Gary. Gary, you're not using common sense. Use your common sense, Gary. Use your common sense, Gary. You're not using common sense, Gary.
Alright, let's save this theme music to a folder, videos. Let's save it to make a new folder called videos. Alright, theme music for making the beat with G7, G7. Theme music, G7, making the beat. Alright, we have everything together. Let's listen to it one more time.
Making beats with G7, making beats with G7, G7. Making beats with G7, G7 the Beatmaker.
I still feel like it's too high. I said too live sounding. Too high. So I'm gonna bring it down like a tad bit.
Making beats with G7, making beats with G7, G7. Making beats with G7, G7 the Beatmaker.
Alright, that sounds pretty much dope. I would mix the kick drum and the hi-hats and everything else, but I just like the way they sound the way they are. You know, I don't want to add any compression or anything else to it, so I'm gonna export it. And that's what I really wanted to talk about in this video. It's just how I make beats and how I do everything, and I did a really good job. I give myself an A, and let's make another folder for this. Oh, yeah, let's make another folder for it. And that's it. That's all I really wanted to do for this video. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you subscribe to G7 the Beatmaker. And subscribe to my main channel. It's called NC17ATNCE101. And subscribe to some of the people I'm subscribed to, because they have really nice channels. Nelly Reviews, Shane Dawson TV, Anision Archive channel, The Raven. He has a pretty good channel. Courtney Pants, I mentioned her in this video because I ate some kettle corn and started choking on it. And subscribe to somebody that you like, and let me know who you subscribe to. And thanks for watching, and I hope you subscribe to G7 the Beatmaker. And make sure you find me on Facebook, because I'm up there. I'm always on Facebook, and if not, I'm on my main channel at NC17ATNCE101. And say what's up. Holla at me, man. I make music. Peace.